If you've ever wanted to see Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch solve a murder, this movie is for you. Hey, it's Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reviewing the new Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen movie, Wind River. It's about an FBI agent played by Elizabeth Olsen who teams up with a big game hunter played by Jeremy Renner to solve a murder on a Native American reservation in Wyoming. I really enjoyed Wind River. It is dramatic, intense, emotional, and it has this really cool indie film vibe to it that you don't get from most big budget productions nowadays. I say that because the sound design, the coloration, the cinematography, even just the way the movie was written and directed, all have a very cared feeling about them, which I only really get from movies that are made independently from a studio. It has this feeling that everyone who was involved, even though there are some really big name actors like Elizabeth Olsen, Jeremy Renner, and a rogue John Bernthal comes in later in the movie, they all really care about their roles, and the director did a really great job of building suspense throughout the movie and weaving in Jeremy Renner's story along with the murder of this girl. I do have one little tiny thing though, how the girl that was murdered just happens to be really best friends with Jeremy Renner's daughter, who was murdered 3 or 4 years ago. And you don't really get the payoff of Jeremy Renner's daughter's murder. You don't I guess they talk about it and he explains what happened, but you never get the payoff that you would think would come in a normal movie like this, where you find out who actually killed Jeremy Renner's daughter. But honestly, I didn't even mind the fact that you don't get that payoff, because I was so invested in the main murder story and how that paid off and how that built up, that the kind of absence of kind of wrapping up Jeremy Renner's daughter's murder kind of fell to the wayside. But it's also something that kind of most independent movies, which is another reason why I think this feels like an indie film, most independent movies just leave you with a cliffhanger on certain things. Mostly because, one, the writer didn't really feel like writing it in, and two, they probably didn't have the time or budget to really go in depth into that. I wanted to take a step back into the color, cinematography, and sound design for this, because I just really enjoyed the look and the feel of this. I always say this in every time I talk about a movie, most of the time I guess. It was shot superb. I think I said that for Logan Lucky because Soderbergh's style is just very meticulous, and I say that in a lot of my 1001 movies because I'm watching auteur films like Wes Anderson's Rushmore and Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. But this film really shows what you need to see. There's this really cool transition from the second act to the third act that I won't go into spoilers, but I will say that John Bernthal shows up. The way they did this kind of transition is really cool and interesting. I mean, it's not like a camera work transition, it is definitely an editing transition, which I really, really loved the editing in this movie as well. Like the cinematography, it only shows you what you need to see and tells you what you need to know by showing you, which is the cardinal rule of filmmaking: show, don't tell. My favorite part of this entire thing was the color grading that they used in this. It's very blue, but I really love the desaturated blueness that they used in this film, mostly because of the fact that you really do get the feeling that they are in Wyoming in winter and it's cold, it's snowing constantly. It really sucks you into the movie. Most of my thoughts on this are just about the way the movie was shot and edited and directed, because that's really what I focused on when I went to this. That's really what pulled me in. I mean, the story is amazing and it's definitely worth a watch because it really pulls you in, but I felt like a lot of the characters were one-dimensional. You kind of get a little background on Jeremy Renner's character. You know that he's a big game hunter, he was married, and him and his wife got divorced after their older daughter died, and they have a younger son, and he's trying to build a relationship with his son, but it's kind of talked about in one scene and then just forgotten about for the rest of the movie. And you don't get any backstory on Elizabeth Olsen's character except for the fact that She's an FBI agent from Florida, and she's stationed in Las Vegas. That's pretty much it. And there's some secondary characters who don't get a whole lot of backstory either, like the dad of the girl who was murdered, who plays every Native American male in every TV show and movie ever. The movie didn't really do much character building. It was very much more story driven and focused on building up the story and the suspense on the murder and figuring out who did it, and the leading up to catching the person who actually did the murder, or kind of, yeah, I'm not going to go more into that, but what actually happened to the process of the girl dying. And you don't really mind or notice that there's not really a whole lot of character building because you're so focused on the intense story, and it really pulls you in. My rating for Wind River would probably be, and this might be a little controversial, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think this is so much better than a lot of the movies that we've gotten so far, besides, like, of course, Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming. I really, really, really enjoyed those. So this is probably my 9 out of 10 for the summer. I think I like this even better than The Big Sick, which I really loved The Big Sick. This might be tied for it. I was gonna be like, I give all of my movies, like, so far an 8 out of 10 except for the Emoji Movie, but I think this one really deserves the 9 out of 10 because it just looks beautiful, the story is engaging, it really just pulls you in, even if there's not a whole lot of character building. But that's all I have for Wind River. I know I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail, but a lot of this movie for me was just focused on the story and aesthetics of it. As always, these are just my opinions and I want to know yours. What did you think of Wind River if you've seen it, and are you going to go see it? Let me know what you think when you do in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, whoever you are. I appreciate you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, and if you're new here, subscribe, because I talk movies, TV shows, filmmaking, all that nerdy fun stuff. So stick around and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!